Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Tigers Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Schulte, and let's get into it because now we are officially into spring training, which is a good thing. That makes me happy. So let's go ahead and crack open this podcast, make a few quick observations, make a few points, and then we'll be good to go. It's going to be a short one. More than likely, there's not going to be a lot of things to dwell on. But let's go ahead and get into it. First and foremost, an injury update. Spencer Turnbull, I believe, is making his first start on Saturday. That will be a good thing for the Tigers to see. And my guess is he'll go 2 innings or a certain pitch count, depending on how his 2 innings go. Because remember, he had Tommy John surgery, so his command isn't going to be the best. So at that point, you're looking at a situation where he's going to probably be going 2 innings or X amount of pitches, which is fine. The 2 innings is pretty standard for a starter that's starting to ramp things up. Every starter so far has gone 2 and hasn't gone 3. That's the way AJ does it, and I'm fine with that. Look, protect these arms. These are the arms that are going to get you through the season if you do it right. Secondly, this team looks pretty solid. It's offensively, it's not. Look, it's spring training, okay? So offensively, you can't read too much into it, but it looks like they might actually score some runs this year. They're not going to be the basement of offenses like they were the last 5 years. And anything is an improvement, right? Because of the way that they've been over the last few years. Any kind of offense is welcome. But at this point, we're in a situation where they've scored. Their lowest output was 4 runs. They scored 4 against Philly on Saturday, 6 against Baltimore on Sunday. Monday, I believe. Yeah, Monday they scored 5. Yesterday they scored 6. Today they scored 8. So those are good things. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the way they're doing it, but you can't win them all. So, Scott Harris talks about dominating the strike zone on both sides of the ball. This team hasn't drawn more walks. They haven't worked a lot of counts. So from that standpoint, they're not, quote, dominating the strike zone, unquote. They're just kind of there. And that's whatever. It's there's not much you can really do about that. So that is an observation and a point that I wanted to bring up. I also wanted to sort of calm people's fears a little bit. Don't read too much into the fact that Garrett Hill started on Saturday and Eduardo Rodriguez started on Sunday. And Monday's starter, I believe, was Bo Brisky. And yesterday's starter was, I don't even know who started yesterday's game. But it wasn't one of your main 5. Okay? Bo Brisky is not going to be your opening day starter. Garrett Hill is not going to be your opening day starter. Joey Wentz, the guy that started yesterday, is not going to be your opening day starter. Now, will these 3 guys be in the bullpen? Maybe. More than likely, they'll be down in AAA. Your AAA rotation in Toledo is going to be pretty kind of scary because it'll probably be Wentz, Faedo, Hill, Brisky, and then Reese Olson. So that'll be interesting to see. But no, don't read too much into the fact that Eduardo Rodriguez started on Sunday and Matt Manning started today, and they really haven't gotten too deep into the rotation with Boyd, Lorenzen, Turnbull, because let's face it, Turnbull's coming back from Tommy John. Boyd and Lorenzen are injury prone. So You'll probably see Boyd tomorrow, Lorenzen Friday, or some iteration thereof, and then Turnbull on Saturday. And, honestly, I don't know. Maybe you see Boyd tomorrow and Rodriguez on Friday because he's got a pitch in Venezuela, for Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic. Now, I don't know if they head to Miami on Friday or Saturday or when they do. I know that Scope and Ibanez had to head to Taiwan, and they flew out after today's game. So the logistics of that are not known to me, and they're not my concern, so they're not going to be known to me. With all that being said, it's going to be an interesting few weeks because now you've got these guys. You've got Brisky and Hill and Faedo. Faedo pitched yesterday and looked pretty good. You got Faedo, Wentz, Brisky, Hill, these guys that are trying to make a spot on the team, and they're having all of the ability to do that. They're having every chance to make that squad. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Because Rodriguez isn't going to be there to take some of those starts. So he's going to get his work in after the World Baseball Classic, and Venezuela is going to at least get out of their pool and make it to the quarterfinal round. Once they get there, it's anybody's guess. But they may not, because they're in the same pool as the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. So have fun with that. So those are just a few quick observations. Congratulations to Parker Meadows. He's looked really, really good in camp. His older brother Austin is looking like he's getting his feet still underneath him a little bit, but it was great to see Parker and Austin start in the same outfield on Saturday, and Parker went yard in the next inning. Austin tried to go yard, but he pulled it just a little bit foul. The guy that I'm impressed with the most at the moment is Nick Maton. He has hit 2 homers, and they have been absolute moonshots. And he's really making a case to stick on this roster. So Maton has impressed me. Vierling has looked okay. Donnie Sands has looked okay. You can see where Sands needs some defensive work. Jake Rogers came back, and it was good to see him come back on Sunday. And he hit a home run on Sunday, and looked good behind the plate. He did not throw out the one base runner he had a chance to throw out. He didn't even throw the ball because it just wasn't a good pitch to throw on. So he caught it, wisely chose to hold on to it, and live to fight another day. So that's the way things have been going. Alex Lang looked good yesterday in his 1 inning of work against the Blue Jays. Jose Cisnero had a little bit of tough luck today, but it was good to see him back because he was out for most of last season. And then he also was reporting some neck tightness earlier this week. Ronnie Garcia is still up and down like he's always been, so that's a good thing, I guess, because now you know what you're going to get. So yeah, right now the team looks solid. They look like a 75-win team, but it's going to be the 87 losses. I don't think are going to be absolute blowouts. I don't think you're going to see too many 14-1 or 13-0 shutouts like you saw last year. But what you will see is a lot of 6-5, 4-3, 5-2, where it's 5-0 going into the ninth, and the team sort of fights back a little bit to get 2 runs. This team is going to scrap. They look like a very scrappy team, and I like that personality about them. I really do. So those are my observations. Riley Green looks like he's getting things on track. Spencer Torkelson still looks a little lost. And like he's feeling the pressure of everybody going, hey, how's he going to do in his second year because he didn't do very well in his first year. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch over the next few weeks. We have seen Mario Feliciano at first base. We've seen Andy Ibanez at first base. So they're not necessarily, I don't think, sold on Spencer Torkelson making the opening day roster. Now, AJ Hinch has said that this team is a better team when Spencer Torkelson is on the opening day roster. But how much better are they if he's not hitting? You know, that's one of those things where you kind of have to balance, okay, it's a 1-1 pick, but what's he not doing that he needs to be doing so that we can win? So, because I don't think AJ Hinch feels that this is a 75 win team. I think AJ Hinch is trying to get to the playoffs like he does every year. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, those are my observations. Those are just a few things that have been sort of knocking around, having watched the first 5 games of the year. We'll see where this goes because it's just starting to get interesting. Things are just starting to heat up, and we're just starting to get things to where they are going to be, where people are going to have to start making some decisions. So with that, I am going to say so long. Thanks for listening. Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/@TB podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or some other podcast distribution system, rate and subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to the podcast. I would really appreciate it. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can. TigersBaseballPodcast@gmail.com. It's the world's longest email address. I'm proud of that. At TB Podcast at TB Podcast at hitithere.cafe on Mastodon, or at Podcast Tigers on Twitter. You can get a hold of us in those forms of social media. Really appreciate it. Hope everybody has a good week. We will see you next week. Until then, I'm Chris Schulte saying thanks for listening and go Tigers.